Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cub Chat Live. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today. You are looking at Sydney Palomino. She is a council program director, and she is a den leader times two. She's got a Weeblos and a tiger in her family. She's den leader to both, and the other kids in the den. Hi, Sydney. Thanks for joining.
Hi, it's great to be here. I'm so excited.
We're talking about summertime in Cub Scouting, summertime activities, and I think a program director and a den leader. I just don't know if we can get much better than that when it comes to ideas. But we also have somebody else we need to give some special recognition to. Sydney is joined by Kit, who happens to be the mascot of the Camp Birch, where she's program director. Hi, Kit.
Kit's very excited to be on Cub Chat.
Yeah, tell us the story behind Kit.
So Kit is our camp mascot. Kit is my buddy. As we all know, Cub Scouts need to have their buddies whenever they're at camp. And so Kit goes everywhere with me to make sure that when Cub Scouts see me out at camp, they always ask, Sydney, where's your buddy? Kit's right here. Kit loves wearing crazy costumes and getting into the spirit of camp with our scouts and just having a great time, having fun, making sure our scouts feel excited and comfortable out at camp.
Thank you for keeping it fun, Sydney. I think this is just like the right dynamic to go into today's topic. And also want to ask you, because you kind of teased this to me and I was like, don't tell me yet. Wait till we're on camera. You have a special passion for summertime activities. Why is that?
I do. So when my son joined scouting, I kind of joined just as a parent, not as a leader yet. I really wanted him to be involved, but I felt a little intimidated and overwhelmed and didn't necessarily want to commit too much of my time to it. But I really wanted him to be involved and go to summer camp. And at that time, my pack didn't participate in my council's camp. We didn't go. There wasn't a contingent that went. It was just kind of something that was left off of our calendar. And so I talked to my pack's leadership and I said, hey, I think we should go. And they said, sure, but we need somebody to lead it. We need somebody to take all the trainings and step up to be one of the leaders to take our scouts to summer camp. And so after a million phone calls with the camp director and after emails back and forth, making sure that I had all of the information right, being a very concerned parent, wanting to make sure that I knew what was expected and what was needed and what my scouts needed to bring, we came and we had an amazing time. And my son still talks about that first summer camp experience that he had out here and how magical it was. And that definitely got me hooked in scouting, and I fell in love with everything about it.
So cool. Also, I love that we're already talking about camp a bit because I think, we have a mixed audience here, a lot of seasoned leaders and a lot of new parents and new leaders. Hey, Pack 84, hey, Pack 19, hey, Pack 3506. So I think some of the parents are thinking, camp, I thought that was for the older youth, Scouts BSA youth. So we'll get into that. Hang on. If that's your thought, we definitely want to get there. But I want to ask maybe the most obvious question for a lot of new parents who are like, I signed my kid up for this program. We do it in the fall. We do it in the spring. It's like school. Does Cub Scouting run like the school year? Does anything happen in the summer? Is there a break for summer? How does that work?
So that's to me, one of the coolest parts about Cub Scouting is that it can be an amazing full year program. We don't have to stop when school stops. We can have fun activities, awesome, engaging activities for all of our scouts and our families all throughout the summer. And I know people's schedules get crazy and people go on vacation and family things, but it's okay if they can't make it because there are those opportunities that we're providing for them to do some of those things that they wouldn't get a chance to do during the year.
And I imagine if there are some parents, some families that are interested in your pack or your den, and they haven't been able to like fully commit yet, but maybe the summer is the time that they finally have time to like see what scouting is all about. And I think it's a great chance to take advantage of that.
It's also a great opportunity for our packs to be able to maybe cultivate some of those new leaders, because you might have a parent who maybe isn't in the position where they can step up and take on den leader responsibilities. But one of the things that happened in our pack was we had a parent who loved fishing. And so he volunteered to run a fishing derby at a local park, and he brought out his fishing boat and parked it, and the kids got to see it and got to learn about fishing. And it was kind of his first step into being a leader with the pack. because he got to share something that he was passionate about that was outside of that defined den leader cub master role.
Love that. We're getting some great comments. Behind the scenes, Brian is throwing up some shout outs. Also want to shout out Pack 78 and 89. Rob says very directly, if your pack stops in the summer, they're doing it wrong. That's the best time to do fun outdoor activities. And Rob is in Texas. He's in a hot part of Texas. So if he's, like if he's saying that, we all got to get out there. Brian brings up an interesting point. Maybe we'll get into this a little bit later on, but just he thinks the new program is going to lend itself to a more active summer program. I think that's a great point, Brian. Okay, let's get into the meat of today's episode a little bit more. So we know packs can be doing things during the summer. What should they be planning for the summer? What could they even be planning now in March?
That is a great question. And it's really important that our packs focus during the summer, focus on fun. Focus on engaging your families, focus on getting the Cub Scouts outside and hiking and cycling and swimming and boating and all of those really cool things that you really can't do in the winter in most places, but that are going to get them engaged and enjoying Cub Scouts and get the parents involved in having fun. You don't want to focus on required adventures, especially with the program updates. We want to make sure that we're doing those when we're back and when we're meeting with our den. So really, if you have to even do adventures, if that's something that your pack wants to do, focus just on electives and having fun, but really just focus on the fun of summer, the fun of scouting.
Emily says that they're also in Texas, Pack 2022. Normally, they've done parades and small things in the summer, but they hope that they can start to do more. Yeah, let's get some ideas going in the comments. What do your packs do for summertime activities? We're going to actually talk about some, ideas in just a second. But before we get there, I want to ask you, Sydney, we've touched on so many of these already, but what are some of the other benefits of having summertime activities for your pack?
It's a great time to recruit new Cub Scouts. It's a great time to recruit new families to your pack. It's a great time to let families expand and start getting more involved, and maybe bringing along, maybe they have friends that are at school that are interested in trying Cub Scouts, and so it's a great recruitment strategy. It's a great retention program. Making sure that they stay engaged over the summer will definitely help you retain your scouts and keep them engaged and invested. And then it's just a really nice time for your scouts to deepen their friendships, and for your parents and for your pack families to build those stronger bonds, camping and exploring and having fun. And that's what helps to kind of keep the health of the pack and the heart of the pack going.
Yeah, I imagine too, it helps a lot of your scouts keep from losing that momentum in scouting, getting distracted by other activities and what have you, or, just kind of keeping all their activities going if they do them throughout the summer. Because I'm definitely a believer that you can juggle a few balls. You can keep going with your other activities and scouting. So, why take a break?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to remind everybody watching, we are calling out, what does your pack do in the summer? I'm about to read a bunch of what you guys have commented, but I want to ask Sydney, so I don't scoop her before I read all of these. What activities are out there that really let us hit the easy button? I love that. Easy button for summer activities.
So as a summer camp program director, I'm going to say it. Use your council camps. Have your Cub Scouts go to day camp. Have your Cub Scouts go to overnight camp. If your council doesn't have that, look at a neighboring council and find a place that's a good fit. They get to do so many amazing things at those council and district camps and activities. They get to do range and target sports, archery, BBs, slingshots. They get to do climbing. They get to do boating and swimming. They get amazing opportunities to explore nature. And throughout the year, for literally the whole year, you have incredibly hardworking camp directors and program directors that are painstakingly planning amazing camping experiences for Cub Scouts that you don't have to plan, that you can just send them and let them have fun, because we want to do all of that work because we want to make it a magical experience for your Cubs. So please, please, please put council and district summer camps and day camps and activities on your PAX calendar and hit the easy button and let us do all of the work for you.
Okay, I have two follow-up questions on that. On the photo, in the bottom right, the cutest thing I've ever seen was happening. Can you please explain what's happening there with that cute little
So
dog?
that is not, that is a wolf cub.
I
So
thought it might
we
be.
had a great relationship this past summer. We invited the Ohio Canid Society out to camp, and they brought one of their wolf cub rescues. And our scouts got to meet him. His name was Arthur. They got to meet him. They got to interact with him. They got to learn a lot about the kind of myths behind wolves and the untruths, and then they got to interact with an actual wolf cub. We also had raptors that came out. We had hawks. It was a really amazing, magical summer, and all of those things are things that your camp program directors are planning for you to just show up and enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, we're calling it hitting the easy button, but really what you're doing is taking advantage of a wealth of resources and people who are working on these things all year round. They're thinking about, summer
Absolutely.
activities. So that's a great pointer. If we have new leaders, maybe a parent has just stepped up as some kind of pack leadership position. How do they find out about their local camps, their local scout camps?
A great resource is to go to Roundtable. Your Roundtable commissioners are going to be able to give you that information, and reach out to your district executive. They're going to be able to have a lot of information from your council that points you in the right direction. It depends on your council whether you have district day camps, or maybe if you're in a smaller council and you just have one camp, you're going to just have a singular camp. But commissioners are building relationships with our pack leadership. Reach out to your commissioner corps, reach out to your unit commissioner and ask them, what about day camps for us? And go to Roundtable.
So let me ask then, let me even step it back. Okay, so roundtable, what is that? How do I figure out when it is? How do I go? Do I go to it? How do I go to it?
Roundtable is a meeting that is open for all adult leaders to come to and to learn more, to be able to ask questions to other adult leaders, to be able to talk to their commissioners, to be able to talk to representatives from their council, experts. We've had some amazing roundtables in our council where community resources have come in and made relationships and asked for help with specific projects. Roundtable is basically a kind of like a help desk meeting where you can go and you can get ideas and get inspired and share suggestions. It's almost like a Cub Chat live in person.
Beautifully said. Thank you for breaking that down for us a bit. Okay, so let's say we've got maybe a pretty established pack and they have done summertime activities for a while. Maybe they want some fresh ideas. Do you have any?
That is awesome. I'm so glad you're doing great ideas. You're building a year-round program. There's always something new. Um, Maybe look a little bit farther, a couple hours, maybe like an hour or 2 hours outside. Maybe there's a zoo or an aquarium that you guys could go on a day trip to. Maybe there's an amusement park that you could go to. There are a lot of nature centers, community nature centers, local city nature centers. One of the coolest things that we did a few years ago was we worked with one of our nature centers and we went to a creek and we looked for fossils in the rocks, and the scouts got to learn about the fossils. Um, does your city have a baseball team or another a football team or a sports team that would host a scout night at their stadium? That's a really cool thing that we do here in Ohio. We have a scout night at the ballpark where they actually get to camp on the ball field. So it's really cool. Work with your local clubs. There are lots of local, like amateur astronomy clubs or amateur orienteering clubs. And those places love working with scouts and love kind of passing on that knowledge to younger generations. So they're a great resource for being able to ask them to come out and bring their telescopes and do a night star study. Local museums, Air Force Museum. We have the Air Force Museum here, which is always an amazing experience, but lots of local museums, national state parks. Just find something fun that you think is cool. Check into local businesses too. A really cool thing that our pack did was we went to a local ice cream shop, And we got to take a tour of the ice cream shop, and they showed us about how they made ice cream and mixing the flavors and all of that. And it was a huge hit in the summer because ice cream. It's the summer, it's ice cream.
Man, that's fun. Your packs seem extremely fun, or your pack seems extremely fun. Just a reminder for anybody watching, Sydney is a den leader times 2. Okay, so we have a golden opportunity to ask her for questions and ideas, and really take to heart her question or her ideas. Looking at these pictures, it's clear you guys have a lot of fun.
We do.
She's also a council program director, and are you at Camp Birch right now?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, she's at her camp right now. So
I would
again,
be outside, except it's raining here in Ohio. So
you're kind of half, it looks like you're half outside. So great location, definitely. We have some more, topics to get through. But before we do that, I want to see if we can just take a few minutes to go through some of the comments we've gotten, summer activity ideas. Maybe we can go through it. And Sydney, you interrupt me at any point if you have something to interject here or say. But John says that in the summers, they camp, they fish, and they hike. Solid, the meat of scouting kind of activities, I think.
It doesn't have to be complicated. We don't have to make it into an elaborate trip. It can be just going on a hike. Absolutely.
Right. And for, a lot of youth, they're bored and they're just, that's really fun to them. I mean, it wouldn't be fun. It'd probably be fun if they weren't bored, but just to get outside and go do something, or maybe that's the incentive that they need to go do it.
To spend time with their friends, to go to a playground and just play on the playground with their friends. I mean, they're not in school, but they're going to miss their school friends. And a lot of times that's who they're in the pack with. So just hanging out, maybe taking a picnic to the park.
Totally a side topic, but I think sometimes certain families will have their kids' summers very programmed out. And so they assume that all kids are like that. And really, definitely not the case. There are a lot of kids who need things to do in the summer. And why wouldn't scouting be one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next up, Richard says they do stomp rockets, fishing, and rain gutter regatta. These are 3 things I hear come up quite a bit. I think we're talking a little bit about rain gutter regatta in a minute, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Richard, 2 thumbs up. And I always hear stomp rockets, and I think stomp rockets are very fun. So I like
they
that.
They are lots of fun.
Okay, Katie says our local river patrol will do free water safety presentations paired with this dry rescue practice and paddling techniques. Yeah, summer seems like a great time to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Safety should always be part of the program for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brian says our pack rents the public pool in June. Woo! My Weeblos Den is going to our council camp to do a 2-night camp out in July. Very cool. Those are more involved activities. I am so glad to see that you're doing them, Brian. And shout out for going to camp.
Yes. Good job. Yay.
Sydney, will you help us remember the guidelines for camping with youth in the younger programs? What does that look like for different ages?
Sure. So it needs to be pack camping for our lions all the way through our bears. And then Webelos and Arrow of Light dens can den camp. But we need to make sure that we're doing those at council approved camping locations so that there's safety and bathroom facilities and all of those things that are required. And then if they're going to be with their family, they need to have their parent or adult partner with them, unless they're with their Webelos or Arrow of Light den. And then they need to be with their den leader and their other den, their assistant den leader for 2 deep leadership. So all of the rules for youth protection training and all of the guide to safe scouting rules and everything still applies. Even in the summer, all of the rules still apply.
And this is why I do really love for Cub Scouts, council camps are clutch because they're really walking you through each of these steps to make sure you're not forgetting something, you're following the rules, and they're obviously BSA approved places to camp. So
definitely.
Cool. Okay, we've got lots of ideas. I'm really excited about reading some more of these. I know we don't have forever, but Dorothy says Pack 92 in Ohio, they plan to use their local state and national park resources. Great idea. What are your thoughts on that, Sydney?
I think that's amazing. That's absolutely wonderful. Here, our camp shares a border with a state park. And so we have a great relationship with our John Bryant State Park. That's our neighbor. And it's definitely always smart to use those local resources. They have access to great educational materials that they can provide. The national parks have amazing educational programs. I know that there's a big push right now with national parks doing informative things for the eclipse camp, or for eclipse, the eclipse in April. So there are lots of great opportunities for you to utilize your local, state, and national parks and monuments. Absolutely.
Yeah, a national park, especially, I just think of if you live near one, I really hope that you are able to really utilize that with your pack, because it's such a lucky thing to be near one, and they have so many really cool resources for you. And I bet your scouts will remember those experiences forever, not to get too corny.
Absolutely.
Rob again comments, again, he's in Texas. When it would get too hot, they would get together at the local ice skating rink for open skating. What a fun and funny idea for the summer.
That's awesome. I really
Yeah.
like that idea.
You could do that in the ice cream factory and cool off.
Exactly.
Okay, Rusty says family adventure camp. Very interesting idea that we probably wouldn't have brought up, let's say 5 years ago, but family adventure camp, it could be a Cub Scout activity for sure. Cub Scout summer camp and Cub Scout day camp. Okay, what's the difference between Cub Scout summer camp and Cub Scout day camp, Sydney?
So Cub Scouts can have a Cub Scout overnight camp, where they have a few nights of actually spending the night at camp with their families and their packs, or day camp, which is just during the day. And usually it's 2 or 3 days at least, up to maybe 5 days. At our council, it runs Monday through Friday. There can also be a twilight camp, because sometimes there are parents that want to be able to take their kids to camp, but they work during the day, or their kids in another activity. And so a twilight camp is kind of that after work, but not overnight time. And then there are also weekend camps, so like Friday night through Sunday afternoon kinds of camps. There's so many camping opportunities. It just really depends on what your council and your local camp is planning.
You all have so many great ideas that are really feeding the energy here. I do want to read Katie's comment, and then we can kind of talk about our last topic. But Katie says, this year I want to take scouts berry picking and donate the berries to a local food bank. That is creative. I really like that.
That's awesome. It's a great idea to make sure that your scouts are continuing, not just with fun, but also with those community engagement opportunities and ways that they can have fun and give back. Doing service projects. One of the things that we did was go to a local park, and after we were done playing on the playground, we went on a trash scavenger hunt. And so we went all around the park with their buddies, of course, trying to find all of the trash that they could and picking up trash, so that we were showing our parks, we love playing here, but we also want to make sure that we're protecting and preserving for the future.
Yeah, service should remain at the core, at our core, even throughout the summer. It's not just all fun, although service should and can be fun. Fabulous topics. Brian, behind the scenes, Brian, feel free to keep throwing those ideas up on screen, because I don't think we can even get to them all today. We just have 2 minutes left, and I have to ask, because you are uniquely qualified and trained to talk about this. With the Cub Scout program updates, in terms of summer activities, what can we earn in the summer?
So remember, the idea of summer is to focus on the fun. So definitely work on the summertime fun adventure. And that is, there's only one requirement for that. Anytime from May through August, have your Cub Scouts participate in 3 Cub Scout activities. That's it. So it's an awesome way to get our Cub Scouts out and involved and engaged and active during the summer. And if your pack plans one activity a month and the kiddos come to it, you're good. You're done. Beyond that, a lot of the Cub Scout updated adventures, the elective adventures, focus on activities that are going to be across all of the ranks. So fishing, cycling, swimming, camping, rain gutter regatta, which falls under the race time adventure, and Champions for Nature, which is the conservation focused, service focused adventure. So all of those are going to be awesome ideas if your pack decides that you do want to work on some of those elective adventures during the summer. But remember, it doesn't have to be about advancement. Summer should be about fun for your Cubs and fun for your families, and making sure that everybody stays engaged and excited.
Yes, great points, great highlight. I know our audience is eager to see anything related to the Cub Scout program updates that are coming. Love the ideas. Y'all keep them rolling in, even if you're watching this video after we're live, which it will stay up after we're live. Please keep the comments coming because a lot of volunteers are looking for ideas, and your comment could really impact them. So thank you, Sydney. Man, we're running up close to time. I'm curious, what have we left out? What else is there anything else we want to cover here?
There's so much more that I could talk about. I could talk for hours about awesome summer activities. The most important thing is just remember, make sure that you're planning things that are fun for your scouts, that are fun for your parents, that get those families involved, that show them that Cub Scouting is a family focused activity. And this can be a great time to kind of rejuvenate, revitalize the energy for your leaders, making sure that they're having fun too, that they're getting to enjoy those activities. And it's a great time to maybe test out some of your parents that want to be more involved but aren't really sure where they're going to fit in, and to be able to give them those opportunities to say, hey, I know that you like fishing, or I know that you like biking, or you're an amazing geologist, can you lead our fossil study? And kind of find where they're going to fit in the leadership of your pack, and let them take on that extra activity for your leaders, so your den leaders don't have to keep planning things throughout the summer, so that the parents and they can kind of direct what activities you want to do, and where your pack's going to go for their summertime adventures. Make sure that you're always following the Guide to Safe Scouting.
Yes, definitely. That's always step one. Great point. Okay, anecdotally, do you have a couple favorite summertime activities that you've done with your scouts? You've covered
I do.
some, I know.
I do. I definitely do. Well, I think I really loved going to the zoo with our Cub Scouts. I think that was really cool. We when we spent the night, we got to have kind of that early morning behind the scenes tour, and that was pretty magical. Where we are, we have an aquarium that's nearby, and so they will come for the day, and they'll bring sharks or penguins, and let the scouts get to touch the sharks or interact with the animals. And that's always a pretty amazing experience to see those scouts that haven't ever pet a shark before, that get to pet a shark. Definitely the baby wolf was absolutely incredible. We had reaching out to kind of some of your local zoos and nature sanctuaries. We had one come out a few years ago that brought a Joey, a baby kangaroo. And we got to hold it in its little pouch and carry it around and have it hop around. Another great resource is reaching out to your local police department. That is always a favorite. Our camp director will put on the bodysuit, and the police dog will charge him down and attack. And all of the Cub Scouts love watching our camp director get taken down by the police dog. So that's always a really cool thing. And the police officers love coming out. The highway patrol loves coming out. They love being a part of Cub Scouts. They love reaching out to the community and interacting with especially with the kids.
Stephanie said something, what about lions? I think that might be a good question, just in terms of like, are there some summertime activities that might appeal to older Cub Scout youth and some that might appeal to your youngest Cub Scout youth?
That's a great question. So it's important to remember that on June 1st, everybody's going to be ranking up. Mm-hmm. So who you have as lions right now for summer, they're going to actually be your tigers. So just remember that starting for the summer, for your summertime activities, you're working on what grade they're going to be that fall. So technically during the summer, we don't have any lions, because lions don't start until they're in school in kindergarten. So make sure that when you're planning activities for your current lion dens, that you're taking into account that they're actually going to be tigers.
Oh, tear. They're growing up.
I know.
But no, I do think that there's something to say, like, consider your age group, but we're looking for like everything we've talked about, I think would be just fascinating to your tiger age youth up until into Scouts BSA, I'd say. I really wish I had been at the Wolf Cub event, I've got to say. And,
we'll invite you next time.
I would love to go. I'll be there in a second. Can't wait to meet Kit in person. Everyone, again, keep these ideas coming. I want to read maybe two more, and then we'll say goodbye. Mary Lou points out that they do a lot of community parades. They do a lot in the summer. They have 3 scheduled during the summer, and it gives them recognition in the county. That made me want to say, consider your passive recruitment opportunities throughout the summer. You might be doing activities where you can put a sign up, or just having your scouts where, even Class Bs will drum up some, questions from other parents who are like, hey, what group is this? Somebody mentioned theme parks. That's a fun idea. You might have a local theme park that they may have a scout day. I don't know. And
a
then,
lot of them do.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then Myron says sporting events are good things to do with Cub Scouts. Sports venues may allow Cubs to sleep overnight in or outside the venue. Yes. And after those Cub Scouts do those overnights, kind of probably like the zoo, they don't stop talking about it their whole life. I can think of many, many grown men I work with who talks about how they camped at, some cool sporting venue. And one day we're going to be hearing about, the girls in scouting who did that too. It won't be long from now.
And a lot of times they also add in things like they'll have popcorn and a movie after the baseball game, or they'll do something else like that to make it even more fun and engaging for the scouts, to make it a really cool sleepover experience.
Yeah, if you stumbled upon this live stream and you are not a Cub Scout leader, but you're a Scouts BSA leader, a venturing leader, these ideas could be true for you too. A lot of them. I know I took my venturing crew to a summertime, it was like a minor league baseball game, and they, just like you said, played like a movie afterwards. It was very fun, and people brought their families. It was 2 thumbs up for sure. Sydney, gosh, you got to come back on the show. This was really fun.
Thank you so much. I loved being on here, and I loved getting to meet you and talk to you and getting some great ideas from your viewers about awesome summer activities that I totally want to start using in my pack.
Yeah, the viewers are pretty smart. I'm inspired by your photos and ideas, and this has been a really fun Cub Chat Live. Again, tag someone in the comments if you think that they may benefit from a little bit of a summertime activity planning. Everybody, start thinking about this now. Hopefully you already have, but if you haven't, it's not too late. It is March. You can line up some really fun activities for the summer, and should. It's really never too late. As long as there's a tomorrow, you can figure it out.
Absolutely.
Oh, yes. And everybody, tomorrow we'll be live again, actually, at a Pinewood Derby. So keep your eyes on the feed. We'll also be back next Friday for Cub Chat Live. Until then, everybody have a great weekend. Bye. Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure to catch next week's episode. Same time, same place. And let us know how we're doing at go.scoutingmagazine.org/rate-cubchat. We love feedback and ideas for new episodes. And you can visit blog.scoutingmagazine.org/cubchatlive for all our past video episodes. You can see us live. Except it's recorded, but it was live. Okay, see you next week.